Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the ILP Birmingham session for today's AGM. I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today. My name's Michala, I'm the Chair of Birmingham, and today with me I have four of our committee members, which I'd like to introduce to you all. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Kieron Jarvis, who is our Vice Chair and YLP. Say hello.
Hello everyone.
Secondly, I'd like to invite Kevin Clark to say hello. He is our Membership and Product VP representative.
Hi, thanks for joining us today.
I'd like to also introduce Ryan Parry, who is our Education VP rep.
Hi everybody.
And finally, but not least, Aftab, who is our RTLO.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Great. Thank you all. So really the topic for our discussion today is how as an industry and as members we can aid short and medium term economic recovery post-COVID. And from that we'll be exploring strands of what that may look like. Things like do we need to adapt? How do we support and encourage confidence? Do we need to do things better, more differently, or do we need to upskill? Do we need to collaborate? So there's various strands here we can explore. But as an organisation, we're still in the early throes and stages of change. I mean, after all, the reorganisation only came just over 12 months ago. So is COVID just more change? But also let's throw in the global economic change that we're experiencing. But again, we've done this before through recessions. But can we do this? And I and our committee would like to know what your views are on this, and we'd like you to participate in the discussion board afterwards, just for your comments and views on some of the discussion points we'll cover today. So firstly, the government has announced a £2 million package to create a new era for cycling and walking as a means of alternative ways to travel and to relieve public transport pressure. Local authorities have already been given and allocated £250 million emergency active travel funds from this, and this inevitably will be cascaded down into the lighting infrastructure and the lighting industry. So are we really ready for the challenge? So to you guys in the committee, do you think as an industry we're fit and ready for this challenge?
I think that it's a difficult one. Obviously, it's a bit of an odd situation for us to really be in at the minute. I don't know. I think obviously a lot has to change. It's just a difficult question, just to sort of answer, to be honest, at the minute, because there's so much that we all got to, find out, and we're going to discover new things that we haven't had to do. So yeah, for me, it's a very hard one to answer. Unless anyone else has, sort of opinions on that.
I think that's all we have at the moment is different opinions and kind of our best guesses to go forward. You could really see several different kind of paths leading out of this, I guess. Are we going to see a severe recession after? It seems likely that we may. And if so, can we lay kind of the groundworks to prepare ourselves for that? As mentioned, this kind of funding that's become available, are we, as an institution, available to kind of help authorities to access that? Because it's quite new. It's been, I wouldn't say rushed out, but it's been kind of pushed out a lot more quickly than normal funding would be. I know Michala's pretty familiar with it, because I think Derby have been successful in getting some of the funding themselves. But can we as an institution help authorities that maybe aren't?
So do you think one of these strands of discussion was, do we need to adapt to what the new climate will be, the new normal? Some of our friends in manufacturing have turned their hand to medical supplies, for instance. And in the main, we've learned, that working from home is possible, and that IT resilience has been tested to beyond almost destruction. You know, we all now know how to use Zoom, and we now know how to use Teams. It's second nature, but you know, the reverberating effects are likely to change how the world does business for many, many years to come. So the successful recovery from a lockdown economy will, you know, probably require us all to maintain and increase levels of adaptability for a long time yet. So what impact do you think this has on things like our supply chains? And do we need to rethink our supply chains and the way we engineer things? You know, and what does flexibility and resilience look like to you in your part of the industry? And that's to anyone.
Yeah, I think we need to adapt. I think for businesses to survive, especially as myself as a manufacturer sort of side of things, you have to adapt, especially as, you know, marketing now is more important than ever. Marketing departments, because obviously a lot of stuff is now done online, and you know, and like myself as a salesperson, you know, we, rather than having these face-to-face meetings, we need to adapt to, you know, doing things differently, because we can't. At the moment, we're in a pandemic, so obviously we can't go and meet people face to face, and the likes of that. So we've had to adapt with Teams and with Zoom, and you know, with webinars and doing, you know, presentations or online. So yeah, in that sense, we have to adapt. Regarding supply chains as well, I think this has made a lot of people, you know, buy locally, buy from the UK more than abroad. Just because of, you know, one, we're supporting local businesses, and two, the supply chain obviously out in, you know, in the Far East, it's been just so hard to get, and just in general, and it's just delayed many things. So I just think it's yeah, I think companies do need to adapt, just with the current climate, or we just won't survive. So
yeah, it's certainly shown our weaknesses, hasn't it, as a nation, and on our reliability on products that, you know, outside our own manufacturing capability. You know, and you know, we're really looking for manufacturers to step up to the mark, so that we've got a strong economy going forward that's resilient to, you know, the possible effects of, you know, pandemics and a recession. How are you coping with that sort of side of things when it comes to design after having your business?
Well, to be honest, Michala, design has been extremely busy. It was busy pre-COVID, and post-COVID, it's been no let off. I mean, for design, really, because it doesn't involve us going out on site that much. It doesn't involve having lots of meetings and a lot of one-to-one interaction, physically. We've been given projects, and we've been obviously given deadlines. We've been given the specifications, and we've just got to get on with things. Where it's sort of become sort of a bit more tricky is sort of when you want to check things, getting hold of reps, you know, and things like that. It's been difficult at times, because obviously you don't know anyone else's situation. They could be in lockdown, people have been furloughed, not been able to get hold of people, and obviously that slowed the development side down as well. Obviously with LED technology, the thing is, you know, the all the new lantern, the packages and the settings, they're constantly changing. It's not like the old days where you just had your traditional light sources and the optics never changed. With LEDs, every few months, the optics are changing. You do a design, and then you speak to a manufacturer, and they tell you, oh, that you're using the old optics. We've got a new optic out, you know, and then they email you the latest optics. So things like that have been a bit difficult. But it's also not knowing what's happening, and you know, people are concerned about their jobs, and you know, and obviously working from home has got its advantages, it's got its disadvantages, and adaptation is something, you know, that it feels like if you don't adapt, you're kind of just going to fall behind. And obviously we've seen a lot of other industries that have been heavily affected and businesses have closed down, and there's still so much uncertainty. But certainly from the design side, we've been really busy and we've been managing with what we've got, and I have managed to speak to reps and get some information, but obviously it hasn't been like pre-COVID where you just pick up the phone and and it's like, yeah, okay, I'll come in tomorrow and see you, and things like that. So all that sort of element has gone, but yeah, it has involved adaptation, and obviously it's still evolving, so that's where we are from a design perspective.
Yeah, because we have a number of manufacturing brands that outwardly brand themselves as manufacturing in the UK, and should we be looking for more manufacturing in the UK? Is there a market there for and a capability, a skills capability to manufacture more in the UK?
I believe there is, and Kieron touched on that, saying that people are sort of trying to procure locally, because obviously they've got they feel more confident than trying to sort something out in France or another country or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think that is part of the adaptation process, looking at what other options are available, and then obviously pursuing that and seeing where if it can work.
Super.
Yeah, just again from a manufacturer's side, I think from my experience has been that a lot of customers still have very tight deadlines. They still have projects to complete, and I think we've found that we've been working closer with some customers who are aware that there is a supply chain involved behind us as a company with our component suppliers, and any issues they may have with staff and COVID affecting their businesses. So I think we found a willingness to kind of open up more channels of communication and work with us. And I think that community spirit between manufacturers, their suppliers and the end clients to deliver what they've been set out to do. So I found that as a very positive outcome of the COVID.
There was I think we noticed there was a bit of a trend in the market that certainly seemed that people wanted to kind of regain this built in Britain side, which we have been looking and slightly moving towards as we speak. And that's certainly been accelerated by COVID. But it's a more kind of these disruptions to couriers and things like that can be mitigated by that. So I think it is going to shift more that way, and people want to kind of have that certainty that lead times remain low and that things are accessible. Just to circle back to after having Kieron, they were talking about the way we engage with, or suppliers engage with customers. We've noticed a big change, and we need to adapt to that, because I think there's a real ebb and flow of a meeting that changes when it's like this. And even at the moment, it's very everyone takes it in turns to talk, and you don't want to be talking over each other, but it kind of loses that dynamic feeling a little bit, and can, I don't want to say stunt a conversation because that's a bit too far, but it certainly makes it less malleable. I think people need to get used to that a little bit, that kind of, especially in a one-on-one call, doesn't so much have that effect, but when you have a group call, it does affect the kind of the way that can move forward. So maybe just people becoming used to that and adapting to that is going to be an important part in going forward, at least until measures are in place that face-to-face is safe and kind of achievable, I guess.
Super, thank you. And I suppose that leads on to how do we support and encourage confidence in the industry? So, whatever we do, I suppose we have to respond decisively and innovate as well. That's the big key to this. We've got to do a lot of innovating between us all, and that has to be done together. We have to move together in this. So, you know, we explore the possibility of supply chains being an issue, but is it down to people like ourselves in local authority that need to be more localised in the procurement of lighting products and services? Would that help the short, medium term recovery for the industry and for its membership? And that's to any of you guys if you'd like to answer. You know, sometimes when, as a local authority, you know, our hands are tied with procurement, and, you know, for us, sometimes we don't necessarily procure the product or the manufacturer that we'd necessarily want to go to, because a lot of it's based on cost, isn't it, for local authorities, because of the budget constraints we've had. So do we need to, like, put to one side part of the cost element of procurement and look at supporting and encouraging the industry?
Yeah. So yeah. So on that note, so maybe like some sort of local authorities can start looking at through their procurement sort of ways of doing things, rather than you're looking at what I've seen some 80-90% pure cost. You know, they can maybe look at where it's being manufactured at. I think that will definitely come about more now since COVID. I do think you'll see more of local authorities looking at, you know, where's it coming from, the quality. I do think local authorities need to sort of look at that in their procurement sort of way, and I believe they will. I just think this is it's definitely scared a lot of people, and I think if they are purchasing in the UK, it will give them confidence. So it might, you know, it'll fill them with confidence that they know that they're buying local, you know, the quality, they know they're putting it in the quality, and they're going to get their goods, you would hope, in a reasonable time, rather than in the Far East. Because if something like this happens again, who knows when you could get your goods again, you know. It's so hopefully it'll give them more sort of selection, that they'll have to look at other ways rather than just looking at cost, because it's obviously that won't work now. So hopefully, it will change their mindset.
I need to kind of put for the other side to that, which is that I think social benefits, as they tend to be put at the moment, are quite important. So you can see, if you procure from a certain company, what they add to whatever, how you want to band it, if you're a city, to the city, or to the wide area in general, to the country itself. And I think that needs to be addressed. But you need to be a bit careful when you say that something is manufactured in location. If you want to drill down to that, I would suggest then drilling down to the next layer and saying then, well, the components are sourced from where? Because we source our components from, I mean, we manufacture for the most part in the Far East, and we've kind of mitigated delays by stocking. So we stocked over there and we stocked over here, and it fortunately somewhat worked out that the delay over there didn't overlap with the delay over here, so we weren't as badly affected as potentially may have been. But I think if all the components are sourced from only certain factories, then that needs to be looked at as well, to say, you know, if drivers are manufactured here, LEDs are manufactured here, and then they're just being shipped over, that source location needs to be looked at as well.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So obviously ongoing maintenance and the future proofing of products is also important for local authorities. So that continuation of supply is the whole bigger picture when you're looking at a product and why you choose to purchase that product. So yeah, all important.
I think even politically, because of obviously Britain moving away from the EU, I think that will also, you know, create that scenario where people will look for homegrown products. But yes, it will matter where the manufacturing takes place, and that will have a big impact on how that whole area will progress. So yeah, I think, you know, this is going to happen. I think even if COVID wasn't here, people, you know, once Britain is, you know, sort of completely out of the EU, I think the whole process of procurement and where people get products from will change.
So given that, you know, we're just on the cusp of many local authorities getting a huge amount of capital expenditure, of which a lot of it's going to go into lighting infrastructure, do you think as an industry we're best placed when it comes to skills? Do you think we need more or better or just different skills for this? I mean, I know from a local authority point of view, the amount of money we've got to spend and the resources we have to deliver it just don't meet. We have a massive skills and resource gap. So, you know, it's very hard for us to recruit into local authority at the moment. That's been evident for quite a while now. But as an industry, you know, we're going to have to start hitting the ground running with this funding and quite quickly. Do you think we as a group have got the skills to deliver the mandate of not just government but also local authority? Probably Aftab, you might be better at answering this because with a design background as well.
I think it's not an easy one to answer, really.
Have you got the design resources in your workplace to deliver and certainly scaling up on demand of your workload and demand from local authorities?
In my situation, we do have the resources, yeah, because we're quite a large company and we've got quite a big design team. Mm-hmm. So, but if suddenly a lot more load was put on us, then we could be struggling. But at the moment, we're able to manage. But obviously, it's not knowing what's going to happen going forward. But at the moment, we are able to manage. We do have enough resources. But that might.
Sorry to gate crush, folks. Just popping in from the main room to give you a friendly time reminder that we've got about a minute or so left before we join back together into our remaining sessions. Sorry for the interruption, and I'll let you get back to it. Thank you.
So do you think it, like I say, as an industry, we're best placed to deliver some of the mandates and some of the economic and environmental agendas that are set out in front of us over the next few years, certainly the short, medium term?
Is that to me? Or?
Anybody?
Again, I think it's down to perhaps trying to promote the communication and between designers, client, manufacturers, because again, we can design these schemes and the budgets can be there to do them, but if the manufacturing capability isn't there to deliver them on time and within budget, then it can fall down at that stage. So I would hope that the industry pulls together and works closer together to make sure that we can deliver what the end user, the person on the streets, which is the reason we're doing all these and schemes, try and deliver what they're looking for and work together.
Super. Would anybody else like to add to that?
I just want to say, sorry. Yeah,
no, after you go.
I was just going to say that it touches on the point you mentioned earlier, Michala, about collaboration. I think going forward, a lot more collaboration will be required between manufacturers, designers, and installers. And I think that's how it's going to be if they're going to get everything moving, get the products and basically get the projects delivered, within the timescales and the budgets.
Okay. Anybody
Ryan,
else?
over to you, mate.
Yeah, I had a slightly, I guess, pessimistic kind of thing to leave on, which is, I think it's important for us as an industry to prepare for with a Conservative government, if we're going to enter into a severe recession, we will be hitting austerity quite hard. And just to make sure we can pull together to kind of work through that as an industry, and try and prepare ourselves in any way we can for reduced budgets, and the knock-on effects of that.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So there's so much material that, you know, I wanted to cover today. Half an hour, such a small amount of time. I wanted to discuss in greater detail collaboration, you know, the decarbonisation agenda, and certainly the influence of the British standards to how we will be expected to deliver lighting to the public. But sadly, we've run out of time, and I hope that as a member, you've enjoyed the half an hour session with us. Please, we did encourage you all to put your comments in the discussion board, and it's something the ILP can pick up later after the AGM event. If you like what we've done here today and would like to get involved with your local LDC, please contact us. We're at birmingham@theilp.org.uk. That's our email address. Or you can tweet us at ILP Birmingham. And a final reminder, don't forget the YLP quiz is immediately after this. So get your thinking box on and enjoy. So again, thank you all for joining us here today. And thank you guys for being part of this discussion as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.